TGR.
Alright guys, welcome to the Gaming Resume's discussion about Code Vein. I played about an hour of the game today and yesterday. We doing the network test beta. This has been discussed and mentioned a lot as the Dark Souls of anime, or anime and Dark Souls really. And it kind of is that. The game has, your stamina bar, which all of your actions essentially go into that usage. You've got your rolls, your running, your attacks, all that good stuff that is not necessarily taken from Souls, but Souls kind of brought it back into the limelight. Code Vein is just off-the-wall impressions. It's not bad. It's actually a pretty good game. I think that a lot of the design philosophies of the Souls games are definitely in here. You play this, if you've played any Souls game, you'll know what you're doing. It's definitely something that it'll come to you naturally. The game itself, it looks good. Let's talk about the presentation first. The game definitely looks like an anime, at least in the character design. It actually has a very deep character customization screen and builder. I spent like almost 20 minutes designing the character that I wanted to play as. I went with a female, and there were a lot of options for the type of character that you could build. I mean, tons and tons of accessories. I didn't go too crazy with the accessories, but I think I went enough to, I don't know, I was happy with how my character looked. And I named her after my wife because I think it's cute. Whatever. Come at me. Anyway, so, and she was actually watching me make the character, so I asked her for some opinions on her, named character after her. So this was kind of like an amalgamation of what I like and what she liked. Anyway, moving on. But yeah, presentation. This is an Unreal Engine game. It looks good. The game was running at 60 FPS on my PS4 Pro. I'm pretty sure it wasn't pushing out 4K. Maybe something, higher than 1080p. I didn't really look. And even if I could have the image on my TV, it only tells me that it's 4K because that's a signal that the PS4 Pro pushes out. But it did look good. It looked very, very fluid. 60 FPS, a good amount of the time, but unfortunately, when there's a lot of enemies on screen, nope. It would definitely slow down. I'm not sure if it got sub 30, but it definitely slowed down from the 60, that's for sure. It did perform better than most of From Software's games, at least, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, and Sekiro. But, yeah, there was a lot of slowdown. So, but overall, the package looks good. It's a good-looking game. It's the footage that you're looking at right now. It's definitely something worth appreciating. This is something that, overall, I think, at least to me, I wasn't expecting it, but then this game has also been in the works for 3 years, so I don't know. I think it's good to see this differentiating look to the game. I don't want everything to just look like high fantasy, so this is kind of like a sci-fi fantasy kind of thing. But yeah, overall, I would say it looks good. Now, the audio presentation, it's fine. A lot of the sound effects are good. The weapons do sound crunchy when they hit the enemies and whatnot. And when enemies kind of pop up, certain music tracks, like if there's a lot of enemies on screen, I've noticed that the music kind of feels more intense. I don't know if that's something that changes with the type of enemy. I really haven't delved too much into it, but there seems to be some sort of different soundtracks that pop up when there's like either a small number of enemies or a lot of enemies. The music is kind of odd. Again, I mentioned earlier, this is kind of sci-fi fantasy, again, very anime. And the music, it's kind of like some techno mixed with some other instruments in there, so it's like an electronic symphony, sort of, is the best I can describe right now. It works surprisingly, at least to me. I didn't think it took me off too much. At first, I was like, I wasn't expecting that kind of music, but then as I kept playing the game, it just made sense. So it's not bad. I think it's pretty solid. Now for the gameplay, just a quick overlook of the gameplay. Again, it's Souls. If you've played any Souls game, you've played this one. The one thing that I can say about the combat that I don't like so far is the feedback. When you hit an enemy, the weapons kind of just go through them, and there's not a lot of that, like, how do I explain this? In certain games like Monster Hunter and even Sekiro, well, Sekiro is very differently played, but in those games, when you hit an enemy, you really do feel that. In this game, enemies, a lot of them don't stagger too much. Depending on the weapon type that you use, they may not stagger. So certain weapons, I ended up playing with a bigger, heavy weapon, because every time I would hit an enemy, yeah, it would stagger, so it would help me win, but also it felt better. The impact actually felt a little more impactful, if you will, for a lack of a better term right now, than the lighter weapons. I think that overall, combat feels fine. It's fluid. There's a lot of intricacies to it. The basic roll, slashing, and defending is there. There's chip damage. I don't know if that can be negated with different, I didn't find any shields. It looks like it's just weapons. But there is chip damage, so that's definitely something to keep in mind while you play the game. And then you've got your rolls. There's definitely iframes. I did a few different rolls and I didn't get hit, so plenty of iframes there. And the rolls do change varying on the lightness that you have on your weight, and also on the weapons. There's a weapon called the bayonet, which is very, very light, and it, you almost like flash around. If you hit the dodge button and you dodge, but it's almost like you're floating away. It's pretty cool. I like that the weapons also change certain gifts, which is your passive abilities, and it does feel like that's one of the better things I would say about it. A lot of the weapons do feel very different. You have your regular long swords, you have your two-handed heavy, axes, and big old Zweinheiser things. God, I suck at the names, but definitely. So again, this is just a network test, so I only played about 3 hours or so, and I got to see a lot of variety so far. Now, in the network test, the way it's divided, the beginning of it is you pretty much go through a hour-ish long tutorial. You go into the home base of the game, and then after that, the demo just ends, and it tells you, hey, you have a high-level area you can go to. So you go to the area, you kind of explore, and you just it even tells you want to be high level. You want to be at least level 40. Now the leveling aspect is kind of different. In Souls, you raise your stats individually. In this game, it's just levels. You level, you go up a level using the haze, which is the souls of this game, and then it just kind of raises all your stats at the same time. So it's going to be a little bit more straightforward with that, but I think it's trying to mix it up with all the different passive abilities, because you have these things called blood codes, I think, where they all have. It's almost like a class. Each of the blood codes has different passive abilities, so you're gonna be focusing a lot on that. It all goes to your gameplay. I ended up using the fighter because obviously I want to be like up in your face fighting you and being heavily combat. There was a berserker class that looked interesting, but I didn't try it. But overall, yeah, it looks like there's gonna be a lot of variety with the classes. So leveling up is just basic. It's very streamlined. Level up all your stats at once, but then you got to look at your passives, and you can put your haze towards those passives, make them better and stronger, etc., etc. And also the weapons, you can upgrade the weapons at the home base. You can upgrade your veil. I think it's what it's called, blood veil, which is like your suit that you wear over your clothes after you pick from the character. Customization. So yeah. Overall, the gameplay was solid. My biggest gripe with the combat is just how the hits feel on the enemies. I wish it had more impact, more. I forget, force feedback, I think it's what it's called. I forget right now, but anyway. So the story is pretty simple. It just talks about it has some sort of like, it's definitely post-apocalyptic, and it has to do with blood. And so I don't know if you're a vampire. It kind of seemed like you had some sort of vampiric qualities to your character, but overall it's like typical anime. I don't know, it didn't do anything for me to be really interested in the story. This is definitely no Bloodborne, at least from now, but good enough to at least be somewhat interesting. And it does have a lot of cutscenes, lots of voice acting. I put it in Japanese because I'm a weeb, and it was fine. Voice acting was cool, you know. One gripe: it seems like you're always with a partner. I don't know if this is right. You can choose to not have a partner at one point, but it looks like the game is practically designed to have a partner character with you. And they talk a lot. They have a lot of quips. It's not as bad as some other games, you know, like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 or not 2, X is the one that I played. I never played 2. It's not as bad as those games, or Dragon's Dogma, which your pawns or whatever they were called. They talk a lot. So it's not as bad as that, but there's still a lot of talking to be had. Anyway, overall, like I said, the game is solid. It looks like it has a lot of potential. This is a beta, so it was a network test. I don't think they're going to take a lot of the feedback about the gameplay itself into consideration. But I think that overall, it actually might be a pretty solid game. Will I buy it day one? Probably not. Maybe a sale, maybe Black Friday. And I know we say that a lot in TGR, but we kind of, you know, we're very picky with our time. You know, there's a lot of games out here, and there's a lot of there's not a lot of time to go into all these games. So anyway, solid preview. I'm glad that I got into the beta. I'm glad that I got to play it, and we'll see what happens. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little conversation that I had with you in regards to Code Vein. If you want more like this, let us know in the comments below. And don't forget, we do have a Patreon, so become a patron. Help us make more of this if you really do enjoy this type of content. We enjoy the feedback. We enjoy doing this already as it is. So more incentive to go full time, more we'll do it. Anyway, your boy Onix checking out. Later.
Like what you saw? Check out some of our other videos.
Be sure to click the subscribe button, hit the little bell, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below.
Thanks for your support, and thanks for watching.